Before we get started, I'd like to show you a brief video, okay? Maddie, who's that?
But just because there's snow doesn't mean it's Christmas today. It'll be Christmas in a few weeks.
Does she know it's you?
I don't know. She's too asleep. Yeah, I like that. Plus, waking up?
What do you see?
He's obviously the good boy.
Yes? Anything else? Mm-hmm.
Disappointment.
Okay. In what context? Please expand.
Being his face just kind of looks like he was expecting that homecoming of like, oh, and it's that disappointment of like she doesn't even know who I am.
He gets stiff there, towards the middle. So that is my daughter. About 6 years ago, my husband deployed when she was 8 weeks old, and then he was gone for 12 months, and that was his homecoming the next year. So she didn't know who he was. And like you said, he was disappointed. You know, he's like, I don't know. I think she's just sleepy. But it speaks a lot about what our military kids go through, our military families go through, the sacrifices. You know, so the next 2 hours we're going to talk about the implications of deployments and transition. And you know, they all look different in different families. You know, it's a lot of factors that play into it. But I just want to show you that video because when I looked at it first, I didn't really think it was just like, you know, it was just a video that I shared with my parents, right? But being in this field, you know, years later, you could really see the different, like the body language of my 1-year-old and my husband. You know, it's a little sad. So, anyways, I want to share that with you before we get started. All right. Let's see here. Do I just go like this? F5. She told me that earlier. Okay. So we are going to talk about deployment and transition. So real quick, any veterans here? Raise your hand. Keep them raised. Any family members of veterans? Okay. Family members of active duty? A lot. Well, we are in Military City, USA, right? San Antonio, and I am both. So thank you for being here today. All right, we'll talk about data. I like to start with data. A lot of big numbers there. A lot of big numbers. They're astronomical, really, if you think about it, and it's kind of hard to wrap our minds around. You know, the 1.85 million, the 1.2 million. But I want you to take a quick pause and think about that military child in your therapy room, in your classroom, right? In your family, in your neighborhood. You look at the statistics right there, they're numbers, but I urge you to think about that child whose face you can envision, that you've interacted with, whether on a personal or professional level, because each of those kids have a story. They come with a family, and they come with experiences that are very unique. You know, and it behooves us to understand them so we can provide the best care that they need. And look at all the moves that they've gone through. You know, I don't consider myself a subject matter expert, but under my belt, like I said, you know, 15 years of serving this population, 11 deployments. We'll have 12 deployment this fall, and then 8 military moves. So I have some personal and professional experience that I can share with. So wish us luck this fall. So again, like I said, the numbers are astronomical. And the biggest thing that I really want to emphasize there is that 90% of these military-dependent children attend public schools outside of the DOD. Outside of the DOD. Now, San Antonio is very much equipped to serve these kids because we have military liaisons in many of our schools now, right? You've heard of them, the military liaisons? Not a lot of school districts have them. Not a lot of cities have them yet. So we have been pretty innovative in that, and really being proactive with serving this population. So, statistics. Yes, sir.
I'm retired Army, moved 10 times. No. It was fun after you're no longer a private. My oldest had to take, I'm being honest, in high school, because we moved 3 times during his high school career. Tennessee state history, Kentucky state history, and then we got to Texas. Obviously, I'm from Texas, but he had to take Texas state history to graduate. So yeah, that, excuse the voice, I had some throat stuff done at Pepsi. Yeah, that's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. And can you imagine the families who are moving from overseas? The lag time is even bigger, right? So it says right there about three weeks to enroll to a different school system, but if you're coming from overseas, that could take 1 to 2 months. If you're lucky, if you're proactive, if you know the right questions to ask, if you have the right resources and you have the capacity to ask those questions, right? And then my personal transition with my children is that my kids were raised in the CDCs, the Child Development Centers on base. And when we moved them to Santa Monica in Converse, funny story is that my 4-year-old, every 4:30, you know this, if you're a veteran active duty, they play, is it taps or revelry at 4:30, right? Taps. And he stands at attention. But then the other kids did not, and he got very upset. It's like, you're supposed to stand, be quiet, and look at the flag. But the other kids didn't understand. So, that's one of the things that, he was a little 4-year-old, but now they do stand because he makes them. But just to, not to minimize that, but it is a big thing, because even if it's a 4-year-old, he noticed there was a big difference from his last CDC into this civilian school, and he was a minority there, So just really wanted to talk about how that it's not easy, not for the kid, right? So if they're stressed, they're anxious, they're gonna bring that home, right? And then if the parents are not well equipped to deal with that, it just kind of snowballs, right? And we go back to the teacher. Hopefully we're gonna communicate better, but that doesn't always happen. But we're gonna do our best. But yes, adapting to new school environments and making friends too. It's tough. Kids who stay in the DoD school systems are luckier because they're used to the PCS season. They know. They know when summer moves, fall moves are coming down, and they're ready for that. And the last few years, the Department of Defense have been really good about moving the VMLs, the vulnerable to move list in the PCS season, right, to accommodate families with school-age kids. Again, because of the many issues and problems that have arisen, and it's a big burden on the community. Because when you're talking about military and veteran families, it's not up just to DoD and the VA to take care of them. It's a community responsibility, right? It's our responsibility. Because these are our family members, these are our neighbors, these are our friends. So they risk their lives to, for our country. So when they come home, we take care of them, right? All right. So I want to talk about this limited access to extracurricular activities. Now we know some schools don't have the same sports program. They don't have drama club perhaps. They don't have a music program that kid was really embedded in. And with our children, they are very much, a lot of their identity is attached to what they love to do outside of school, outside of the classroom, right? I'm a soccer player, I'm a drama geek, right? And then when they move to a different school, the school may not have that. So what do we do to supplement it, right? We don't dismiss it, we don't diminish it. We find some workarounds, collaborating with the teachers and stuff. But it's really important to know prior to the move what you're going to get yourself into, what the receiving community, what is the resources available there for the families, okay? And also, this lack of understanding of military culture by educators and community members, this is a full room. So it's very evident that community is hungry for information, is hungry for resources, so they can have, they're more equipped to care for these kids. So, I mean, you're spending your Friday afternoon here with us, and I thank you very much for that. And that shows your commitment to what is it that you do and to the population that you serve. So there's been a big progress towards providers in the community, in the civilian community, to make accommodations and to invest their time and resources to learn more about the subculture. Any questions so far? Any comments, reflections? No? Yes, ma'am.
Well, Bob was a military brat in the 70s and the 80s, where our whole social support and look at the mental health of the children was not exactly supported. We had 4 moves before I was 10. And being married to, he's now a veteran, and I work with young children, 0 to 3 age population. I go to the CDC centers on Fort San Francisco.
Yes, ma'am.
And seeing just a little bit more of a wraparound for those kids where you didn't, and I've been doing this for 20 years, where I didn't see that at the early of the 2000s when the first many deployments started with Iraq and Afghanistan. It has completely changed from that time frame.
Right.
Whereas before we used to do, I think, 2 or 3 sessions of reunification, and then, okay, we're good, let's go. And I'm like,
You're done. Sign this paper real quick. You're done.
It's been going for 18 months. That's not going to work.
Right.
And seeing a complete 180.
But you are part of the community's response to that, though, to the community's progress towards where we are right now, right? Like organizations like Clarity, organizations like USAA, who is sponsoring this campaign, the Cohen clinics, you know, it's because we know that it's such a cost to the community, no, to the family, to the child, the family, and to the community. It will have multiple, and it's multi-generational effects too if it's not addressed. So, and especially, you know, those formative years, there's a lot of stress and anxiety around that can have lifelong impacts. Lifelong impacts. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I work at the high school at Randolph Air Force, and I noticed that. So we have a lot of online classes that help supplement when the kids come from different places, so they can take something to help them. If we don't offer them, I mean, we have a lot of online that they can take. So that's helpful. It's very good to know.
The one of the first things is that, you know, it's recognizing, you know, if you work in a school setting or whatever organization you work at, it's like, you know, we have enrollment packets, right? Or we ask like demographic information. Does your intake paperwork ask, are you a military or a veteran family? I would urge you to take a look at your paperwork and see, because that will help you identify if there's somebody incoming, you know, that is from that background. I mean, we do that at our clinic, obviously, because we serve veterans, but, you know, it's more detailed, but that will help, you know, yourself, the team that you work with, identify those kids. And, you know, I'm not saying that they are special, but they are unique because they have unique experiences that kids who have never been deployed, whose parents have never deployed or never PCS, don't have. So, because they're going to come with all kinds of things, you know, good and bad, right?